Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited for another Saturday another Sabbath where we can come and present on living well. Thank you for coming and joining us. As you know, with Living Well, we have this program every Sabbath at 4:30 where we can come and learn about the marvelous body that God has loaned unto us so we can know how to take care of it. Our presentation is for educational purposes only. We are not medical doctors. We are only here to share our knowledge, experience, biblical scripture. It's all for educational purposes only. So if you have any concerns or you want to change anything in your health journey, remember, it's always a good idea to check with your primary care physician. They know you best and they can guide you on that journey. So thanks again for coming. And today I have a very special guest that I want to introduce to you guys. I have been trying to get him on our program for the longest while, but here he is. So I want to introduce you to Deon Williams. He is a NASA engineer and physicist whose educational background include electromagnetic fields in environmental interaction study, medical physics study, and aerospace electrical engineering space flight hardware testing. He is presently employed by NASA and have worked for NASA for 31 years, both at Marshall Space Flight Center and Kennedy Space Center. His graduate studies are zinc dope, gallium arsenide materials used in satellite solar panel utilizing utilizing electronic ion beam investigation as the investigative tool for analysis. During his career at NASA, he worked on the Shuttle S-band antenna system, space station elements in audio and video communications, load rack checkout unit, custom avionic interference development and analysis lab, material failure analysis lab, Artemis 1 and Artemis 2 design and build devices that store energy in magnetic fields. Before joining NASA, Mr. Williams taught physics and physical science at Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama. He is a licensed private pilot and a PhD 1 certified scuba diver. Some of his hobbies are real estate, investing in residential properties, luxury homes, land, and commercial properties. He's also an active stock market investor and trader. He plays the piano, alto saxophone, and self-taught playing the bass guitar. He is also an active honeybee keeper. Today, I am excited to present Mr. Williams, and his topic is going to be water secrets and your health. So thanks for coming, Deon, Mr. Williams, and joining us here today. I am so excited to have you. We are anxiously awaiting to hear your presentation. So it's all yours, Deon.
I have a bit of a technical. I got my space, and so I have to move.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
If you see a lot of trees, I'm outside.
Well, that's the best place to be.
Okay, but it's hot. That's okay.
It's hot.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Just before we start, there's some people who are talking or have some interference. So everybody can mute their mic. Okay, you can start, Deon.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Sabbath. I was asked by Emmeline to talk about water, and I think I've presented this topic at Mount Sinai years ago. Yeah, I think I did. Um, anyway, so I'm going to talk about water. Water is a very interesting material, and most of us from high school we know that um, water is chemically H2O, and we tend to use it sparingly every day. And based on science, we know that we're pretty much between 70 to 80% water. We basically a walking bag of water, so to speak, in layman's term. Um, I like science. I love science and engineering, but I also have to be careful about science and engineering to explain the world around us. And so growing up, I was always around the Bible. My parents made sure that they taught me that the Bible is your guide in this journey in life. So when I started studying science, I realized that there were more questions to be answered. Yes, you learn about a lot of facts, but every time you hear about these facts, there's another piece of information that comes down and counter or undermine that fact. So you got to keep asking questions. So a lot of times I found that I'll go back to the science to try to understand the science, but at the same time, cross reference it with the Bible. Now, at work, I work for NASA. I've been there for several years, and I work with a lot of people who do not believe in God. So I kind of want to put that out there. And we have a lot of deep discussions about God and who he is and what he is and what they believe in and back and forth. So I usually, when I get interns at NASA, I usually ask them, do you believe in God? And so I can understand how to relate to them. But the reason I bring this up is because if you go back to the Bible and in Genesis 1, God talks about in the beginning, he created the heavens and the earth. And notice I say heavens, not one heaven, but more than one heaven. And then the earth was without form and void, basically. So I usually used to question this and try to understand what does it mean? What did God mean when he said without form or void? And if you kind of look at the English dictionary, form is a type of matter, is a type of substance. I don't want to get too deep to lose anyone, but everything that your five senses, we have five senses, which is seeing, touching, smelling, hearing, right? See, smell, hear, and tasting. See, smell, hear, tasting, and hearing. Okay. So when we try to understand what reality is, we use these five senses to determine, okay, what is true and what is not true. Generally speaking, that's what we tend to do. Um, but there is other things or other plane of existence that exist that our five senses cannot detect. So, so when we talk about water, water we know we've been taught that it's physical, meaning it's solid and it can, based on the conditions, you can change it and it can go into a liquid state. And then if you change and tweak the conditions around it, it will go into a gaseous state. But Water also has another state that is not known to most average individuals, and it has a plasma state. Now, at work, we use water to cut steel. And some people will think, well, can you do that? Yes, if you pressurize water and and restrict its volume, under that pressure with volume, water can pretty much cut through anything, steel, cement, what have you. So so we also use water for transportation. Okay. We also use water as a medium of moving information. Now, you guys know that you have a cell phone, and the cell phone has in electronics. And these electronics are basically um, discrete components, right? And so you're able to take up your cell phone and talk on it, just like I'm talking to you right now with the computer, through the internet, through the satellite, and then it's been broadcast down where you can receive it through a station of some sort. These antennas, you see them keep sticking up all over the place, and it's beaming microwave energy everywhere. We're basically living in a fog of high frequency microwave energy. Anyway, that's another topic. But through the medium, when the satellite starts to broadcast, one of the reasons why it can send energy through space is because space has water. It also has other gases, but it has water. We also discovered that space is a vacuum, but it's not completely a vacuum. It has water there. So when I learned all these facts, I go back to the Bible and I realized that when God was about to form the earth, there was water first, because he mentioned it in Genesis 1. He said his spirit moved across the face of the deep and across the water before they were land. And so when we consume nutrition, we're consuming organic material. There's inorganic material and organic material. Organic material usually has in hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, basic fundamental atoms. But inorganic material tend to have in one type of atom. Whether you're dealing with concrete, ceramics, or you're dealing with steel or what have you. So when we farm and we plant stuff for food to consume, those type of materials has in the carbon, the hydrogen, and the oxygen. Now, if I extract all the water out of anything that supposedly is living, however we define living, um, that system that we took the water out of, whether it's a plant, grass, human, bugs, whatever it is we consider living, it would die. Now, that to me was kind of fascinating because, okay, why wouldn't it live if it doesn't have water? It needs water to survive. If if we're if we're to lose all of our water in our bodies, we will die. When we were born in water, in a sack of water. Through life, as time passes, and when I say time, I usually think of space time, meaning the air, the volume that you're sitting in is actually space and time combined. Now, most people be like, what are you talking about? Well, every space in every corner of the universe has time built into it. And most people think of time as your watch. But Einstein discovered that you cannot separate time from space. So they call it space-time. So if I take space-time and I manipulate it in different ways, I can produce different things. Now, let me say this. Everything that your five senses can detect, it's just energy. Let me say that again. Everything that your five senses can detect is just energy. Okay. Um, you might think of it as glass, or you might think of it as concrete or stone or bug or dirt or whatever, but it's all just energy. Now, when God created the earth and he created the animals and the insect, and then he created man, every one of these different systems, I call it a system because it has different parts that work together to function in a specific way. So to be a human being, you need two cells joined together, and then it goes through mitosis inside the mother and it developed into this body. But this body keeps moving because the two cells that comes together, excuse me, let me move out the sun. It's burning up. Okay. The two cells that comes together, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Ah, the two cells that comes together has life, what we consider life. And when I think about life, I'm trying to understand, okay, what does the God mean when he said he gives you life? Basically what he's doing, he's sharing his spirit. Whether you're good or bad or in between, Satan, fallen angels, good angels, they all have this thing called life. And it appears to me that life tends to coexist or follow or appear wherever there's water. So when you have water in plants, animals, insects, humans, life exists. When that water disappears or starts to move away from that system, life goes away. So in common sense, life to me is a mechanism that have to have water in order to exist in three-dimensional space-time. I hope I haven't lost anyone so far. Um, so when we think of o- okay, what is existing around you, and we look around and we say, oh, okay, the plant have life, it's growing, the bugs have life, they're moving. All of these things have water in it. If you look at a barn that's built out of metal or steel building and glass and cement, it doesn't grow and it doesn't develop. And if you really examine it, it doesn't have any water. So it seems to me that wherever there is water, there tends to be life. And that's one of the mechanisms that NASA uses in searching for life in the universe. They look for water first, and then they start looking for life. Now, if you go back to the Bible talks about um, God put life into things. And so what scientists is missing is that life exists with water, but there's something beyond water. They they think the structures you see, like they look under a microscope and they'll see little things moving around, wiggling and stuff. Those are just structures. Within those structures, there is water. Within the water, there's life because water has to move with life embedded in it, if you can understand what I'm saying. So I have to make sure I keep track of my time. So when we use water on Earth, we use it for many things. We can use it to bring in nourishment, to make the mechanisms of the fundamental systems in your body to work, to move ions back and forth, to move cells uh, uh, that's filled with waste products, to remove the waste products, to bring new energetic material in. So when you think about life, and you think about, you should think about water, because wherever there is water, there tends to be life around it. Now, there's another entity that exists, we call him Satan. And I always used to wonder, why did God destroy the entire planet when he could have just taken out Satan? Well, basically what happened is when Satan got kicked out of heaven, he fell with all the other fallen angels. They decided to make Earth a laboratory. This is just my interpretation. And what Satan was after is how to make life. But I think he already knew the answer because he's very intelligent. Life only comes from the source, and the source is God. Now, God has the ability to take himself and separate pieces of himself, or as we know it, on the physical plane, which I'm referring to Jesus, because Jesus left heaven and came down and exist among us. But when what we don't understand is he was still connected to God. And he was connected to God not in just the physical plane, but on a fundamental energy plane, which come brings back in that space-time configuration. So I'm jumping to make a point here. When we consume water, nutrition is able to move. But that's not life. Life also needs not just water, but this thing called charge. And if you go in to your house and open up the the breaker box, if you happen to touch two wires in there that has two different phases, you will get an awakening. They say electrocution, but it's an awakening where charge is moving. And the reason why charge is moving is because you are conductive. And the reason why you are conductive is because you have minerals and water. So water seems to be everywhere where there's life, and life seems to coexist where there's water. But that's not the only thing. There's this other component called energy. And Einstein was able to develop a mathematical equation, because we tend to use math as a tool to try to explain, well, scientists try to explain everything that exists within space-time in the physical plane. So the simple equation is energy is equivalent to mass times the speed of light, which is c squared. So E equal mc squared. But what that equation is missing is the other part that man hasn't the ability, without studying the Bible, to understand. So we can use water for transmitting information. You also can use water to store water. Years ago, Sorry. Years ago, my mom died, from cancer, and she took the standard approach of dealing with cancer, and she ended up dying. And I had two other, four other cousins that was diagnosed, and they took the same approach, and they died. And it was very interesting. Excuse me. It was very interesting enough. 2 years later, I came up with cancer. So I've studied at MD Anderson Cancer Center, and so I understand basically what cancer is. But what I didn't fully understand was it, cancer, this is my opinion, cancer is not a disease. It's a deficiency. And when I was diagnosed, I went to a MD PhD in Miami to get the tests run, and he gave me the results, and I left. And it's been almost 17, 18 years now. I'm still alive. Now, some people say, oh, you were lucky, or the stages wasn't advanced, or what have you. But what I understood was is that my body was going through systematic changes. And the first thing I use to try to understand why am I having this imbalance, I started modifying the water intake that I was using, because uh, everything that's nutrition has water in it. So I wanted to bypass all of that. And I went straight to the water, because if you understand how to manipulate water, you can program water to do things in ways that modern science would not understand. They wouldn't believe it. And so I was able to develop some pads. I put it in a plastic, I put the water in a plastic bag and seal it. And then if you take the plastic bag and put it on pain, area of pain, the pain will subside. Now, why is that? Well, water communicates with water, no matter the barrier that you have. Animals in the ocean use water to transmit information from one place to another, to talk to each other. They've said that if you have a woman and she's pregnant, if you play music to the being inside of the stomach, it it does something to the baby. It increases intelligence, it increases activity, it does a lot of things. But what we don't understand is that water can store information, one, and two, it can store good information and bad information. In the Bible, God said to focus on certain things. And he named out these things you should focus on. Well, when you keep these things, love, joy, peace, happiness, I'm kind of paraphrasing. When you think of these things in your mind, you're generating energy. It's coming from you. And I don't know if you ever walked into, I'm watching my time. I don't know if you ever walked into a room and you will make eye contact with an individual, and all of a sudden you get these vibes like, okay, I don't feel comfortable with this person. Well, the water inside of you is just acting as an amplifier. You can use it to grow stuff for food. You can use it as a weapon. God did it when he destroyed the antediluvian world. There were beings that was, they said that was 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet tall. Even in the Bible, it mentioned that the spies went out and they were like grasshoppers to these giants. These giants were real, okay? And I was like, well, how would God destroy them? Easy. If you go into the ocean and you go to the deepest part of the ocean with oxygen and everything, you will die. The reason is water has this effect with gravity, and it will compress you almost into a ball if you go down deep enough. So you will die. So God has used water as a weapon. We can use water today as a weapon. You can use it for transport, a weapon, nourishment. I mean, water is designed in ways where if you understand it, you can also use it for healing. So back to my uh, cancer situation, I started modifying water with electromagnetic fields. Now, I learned human anatomy and physiology when I was at MD Anderson because I was in class with a bunch of doctors. But I went there to study medical physics, my PhD in medical physics. And I realized that you don't need radiation to destroy cancer. Ionizing radiation will kill you, but yet they're using it to bring about homeostasis in your body to kill the cancer. Um, if you can just modify the water in your body in a specific way, and there's been experiments that has been done not by scientists, by other people who study this stuff, and they got positive results. But it's interesting how the FDA can come in and shut you down because they said you're practicing medicine without a license. Okay, whatever. Uh, but understanding the science, Emmeline, how am I doing on time?
You're fine. You have another 10 minutes.
Okay. Understanding Ellen G. White says you should get sunshine, you should go out and garden, and you should have fresh air and exercise. But let's look at this from a scientific point of view. When you take in sunshine, you're taking in a band of energy, and we kind of name them the visible spectrum, the infrared spectrum, the different spectrum of this light. You can take the light and chop it up into these segments. And how we measure that is by frequency. So I can modify water by frequency. When we go to the house, you can use water to make other materials transparent. How we do that? MRIs. Who developed the MRI machine? Physicists, not medical doctors. We just teach them how to use it. And the energy that you use to stimulate and manipulate the water on its atomic level will give you feedback information that develops into a picture. So when they said you got to use radiation to heal the body, that doesn't work. Then they say you have to make incisions and cut into the body. That also doesn't work because now you're traumatizing the body, right? Um, the other thing is they say that you use radiation, you use surgery, and or you use chemo. We had a class in chemo in medical school, and they showed us a video after, and the containers that the chemo came in, they were incinerating them, but they had on hazmat suits. So I was asking my professor, I'm like, why would you use hazmat suit after the containers are already consumed and just ashes? He said the ashes is toxic. I said, but you want to take that liquid and drop it inside of me to heal me? So I that those are the reasons I didn't go to the standard way. I did another way. I use electromagnetics and I use water. And I'm still here today, thank God. And but a lot of the things that I've learned during that time about that disease, that imbalance in your body is you can pretty much, if you understand it, you can fix any problem the body has. We call them diseases. And usually it's an imbalance. When COVID was going around, they recommend my job, you have to take the shot. And I didn't want to take the shot. But then the voice said to me, Deon, you know what to do. You dealt with cancer, you know what to do. So I developed these bags that I told you about, and I programmed the water in the bag and seal it. And in my household, I'm outnumbered. I have two females. And when you go through these monthly cycles, mood change swings and all that stuff. And these bags, I told them, okay, you guys put it, like my daughter especially, put it on the pain, wherever the pain is. And then I have a machine that I hit it with a varying magnetic pulse. And within about an hour, 2 hours, the pain will go away. And so I have a fight for these bags. I used to sell them, make them and sell them, but I don't anymore. But in my house, they fight over these bags. And it's all water. But the water has information built into it that communicates with the water in your body to relieve tension, to speed up activity in the body as far as healing. It brings the body back into its normal state. Because when you're sick, you're you're not in your normal state. These systems, whether it's the blood, the endocrine system, the electrochemicals moving in your body, they have noise built into them. And the noise is reflected by your body as a disease. Now, if you let water stand still, you see things will start growing in it. That means the water is dead. If you look in nature and you see water moving, it's moving and meandering and it goes over stones and rolls and twists and turns, and barely nothing is growing in it. Why? It's because when water come in contact with other material, natural materials like rocks, there's different types of rocks, and these rocks are made up of different elements. Some of these elements are crystalline. Uh, I want to explain crystallinity. Crystalline material means that the atoms are lined up in a very uniform plane, and you have many of these plane, which makes different types of rocks. But what's interesting is any type of material that is crystalline can transfer energy efficiently. It also can convert energy in ways that you can use it and it's friendly to the body. So water has many different attributes, and I don't think we have understood water fully yet, even though we're here. When I went to NASA and I started working earlier, they had me study water, ice, because they had problems with ice forming on the launch pad. This is in shuttle days. And I found out there are multiple different types of ice. And also there are different types of water. So water is not just solid, liquid, or gas. It also has a plasma state. And that plasma state is broken down into many different configurations of H2O. And by doing that, you can use water. The Navy has been experimenting with it back in the 60s where they would do deep dives, but they would breed water. It never, I don't think, got out into the public. The public knows about it, but you can breed water and still live because the water density, as far as oxygen, As it goes into the lungs, those little nodules in the lungs that transfer gases, which explains why you can breathe, can function with the liquid that's highly densely populated with oxygen. So you're basically kind of like a fish, but that technology tends to disappear. If you have the bends and they take you to the hospital, they put you in a hyperbaric chamber. And in that chamber, or they can put you in water, a certain types of water, and that will cause the body to slow down the degeneration. So water can be used for many things. Nutrition, it can be used for transmitting stuff, it can be used as a weapon, you can use it as a tool, you can use it as many different things. So as far as health is concerned, if you continue to consume enough water, you have to, because they said in science, as you get older, you tend to lose mass. When you're young, you're growing, you're taking in mass. Mass is being developed in you. You're getting more mass. As you get older, you get less mass. So if you could slow down that process, which is something I can't live forever. I don't have the tree of life, but you can slow down the process to a small degree if you do certain things and manipulate water. So, looking at my time. So I wanna not go any further. I just wanna kind of tape it off here. Water is very important for living, and God uses his spirit to go through water. That's why you use baptism as a symbolic, from my interpretation of science, why we have to baptize you in the water and come out is because it's a symbol of spirituality, and that spirituality talks about, it's about life. And that's one way that God uses water to get his life force from him to you without you being consumed. When who was it? Someone was, I forgot who it was, the name, but when God told him to turn your face and then you see my back when I pass, is because the amount of energy that God is emitting, humans are not equipped physically to deal with that energy. They will disintegrate. And then if your thoughts are bad, you're even causing more stress on the water in your body. Whereas in God's presence, you will just be annihilated. So that's why he said when he comes back, we got to be changed in a twinkling of an eye. And in the Bible, he also said, think about love and all. All you're doing, basically, my understanding again, is configuring the water to absorb all of that energy that comes from God in a way where, if it's not crystalline, because water can be a liquid crystal, just like the screens you're looking at, the television screens, they're basically having a liquid crystal in there that transmit energy. Well, basically, God uses the same type of technology, but way more advanced, to bring his presence close enough to our defective system in order for him to communicate with us. So, on the whole, water is for humans health wise physically, and for us health wise spiritually. So, pretty much that's what it is. I'll end it right there. So, if you have questions for me about what I said or anything, I'm open for questions.
Well, thank you, Deon. Thank you, Deon. There's so many things you brought up and, you know, that have my mind going. So we need, water is synonymous with life. Water is synonymous with life. We need water to grow and to sustain life. The text can, that text, I think in John, when it says, when the woman at the well came to Jesus and he said that I have water to give you, the water that I will give you, you will never thirst again. That type of water that, that he wants to give us, water that we will never thirst again. Um, God is the living water. So, I am just fascinated about you mentioned about the cancer you had and you use water to heal yourself by manipulating water. So can you kind of tell us what you did in a nutshell?
Okay. The first understanding I had to realize is that I don't have a disease
Okay.
because anytime you have cancer, the first thing it affects is your emotions. I saw it with my mom, I experienced it, and you start to acquire a lot of doubts and question everything. That type of energy tends to send the energy pulse through the water in your body where it has so much noise that the natural mechanisms of cellular function deteriorate. Now, I will argue this with any medical doctor because they're going to speak from their understanding of what they've been taught. But there are other things. There's parts of science that haven't matriculated down to engineering or to the commercial world. And some of it has, but it has been suppressed because what I did was I understood that. So my emotional state, I had to keep that stable.
Mm,
Then I had to realize, okay, where is my body telling me what I had to do? Where's the defect? And I had sharp pains and stuff like that. So once I found the area, it was in my lower GI. I I get the bags, what I told you about. I made those bags. And then I created a field, a magnetic field density, but a varying one. It pulsed.
mhm,
And then so I would sandwich my body within that field. It's kind of like when you go to get a breast
mm,
examination, they put you between two pieces of machinery.
mhm,
Well, very the same type of technique. And my goal was is to bring back normality within that cell, the group of cells that are malfunctioning. That was the first part. Then the second part is to find out why it happened and solve that issue. So I end up building a device that generates the field, and I had a stored one, which is the one that I had in the water. And then I sandwich my body in that field every night for several months. And then I cleaned up my diet and, the basic fundamental eat right, exercise, and that type of stuff. So basically,
mhm,
that's what I did.
mhm. Yeah. So it was basically like a radiation, like how they put you in when they giving you radiation, you have this beam that beams down on you and the area where the tumor might be, or the tumor is. So basically, you were using water instead of radiation
Yes.
to beam down to hit that cell that is malfunctioning. Wow. So
Yeah,
what?
basically
Yeah. Yeah.
changing the condition that the cell exists in. That's
Right.
basically what I did. Yeah.
Right. Somebody in the chat says, could that water bag be available again? Can you?
Yes, I can make some. Actually, I made a pair for a friend of mine. They're from Switzerland, and her mother came down and they had heard about this bag I was making and stuff. And she had problems with her knees where she could barely walk. So my friend wanted to try it. So I end up giving them a bag. I made two. I gave them a bag, and she was able to move and the pain was reduced. Now, this was several years ago. She came back to visit this year. I wish I could show you the text. Her daughter texted me and said, Deon, can you make two more bags? And her husband was like, oh, that's hogwash. That doesn't work. Now he wants bags.
Right,
And
right.
so I'm supposed to make some bags for that. Yes, they can be made.
Mhm.
And,
Okay, okay, wonderful. So the audience, if you have any question for Dion, you can ask your questions.
Yes, I
I
have.
want to know how do they
I think
what about the
you're muted.
magnetic field?
Okay.
How do you get that piece to it? I mean, because you have the bag and then you have to have the magnetic field. Are we able to create the magnetic field?
okay. When I made mines for me. But then I discovered there was a company in Canada that was making a machine that produced very close to this magnetic field. It's not in America for some strange reason. I already know why. But
Mhm.
but yeah, you can order it. It's called a magnetic pulsar. You can go online and look it up. Um, but it's made in Canada and they ship it from Canada to the US.
Magnetic pulsar.
A magnetic pulsar, yeah.
Hmm.
One more
Okay.
question. What is in the bag? Is it just a simple bag of water?
Yes.
Okay.
But the difference is I've programmed the water to do a specific job. Remember I said water can store information, right?
Yes.
And so if you can store information, then I can store informations in fields that will cause my body to, it's kind of like when you were small, your mother would come, you have a cough, and she'll rub Vicks on your chest, and she's rubbing Vicks on the outside, but for somehow it's affecting the the
Inside.
the the norm abnormality inside.
Hmm.
But what we don't understand is that atoms and protons, let me go all the way down to the protons and the neutrons. They have an energy field that interacts with one another. Now you have to understand the relationship and intensify it for it to work in the physical world. It works on the quantum world, but once you understand it, it work on the physical world. It's just like I'm talking to you now and I'm sitting outside by this building, but you're hearing me. It's because we understand how to transmit that energy to space and get it to the device that you're looking at or listening to, and you can hear my voice.
Yeah.
Are the
Uh,
bags programmed with salts?
No, I'm not adding a chemical to it. It's just
Okay.
plain water, but it's programmed on the level where this is not in any science books or anything. This is I don't think this thing is new. It's been around for a while and they suppressed it, it went away and it came back. But you can store information in water. And then when you take that water and put it up against another system of water, information goes back and forth. How it done, the mechanism is done, the science behind it we fully don't understand it. It's kind of like, tuning forks, right?
hmm.
If you take a
Yeah.
tuning fork and they're both at the same frequency, they're built at the same frequency. All you got to do is hit one and bring it not too close, but close enough. The other one will start responding.
Hmm. Yeah.
We know that. That's basic science. Well, you can do the same thing with water.
Hmm. Yeah. I guess they were trying to figure out how do you program the water. You have to
Yeah,
use.
that brings in the biochemistry and all that other sophisticated stuff.
Right, right.
But and the magnetic field. But it's a process where you store the information and then it's stored in the bag and then you could put it up against any pain. Now, how to do that is you're gonna have to know some biochemistry and all. That's why I
Yeah.
never really teach people. I
Right.
just would make them and sell it to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I have a question,
Go ahead.
Emmeline.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to why you don't sell those bags anymore.
Because me and the FAA don't want to be colliding.
Okay, I understand.
Uh-huh.
I, I
Yeah.
don't want to say I'm going around being a medical doctor because they will put you in jail, wreck your life. No.
Yeah.
So what I tend to do is, people who I really know and stuff, I will
Mm-hmm.
work out something or give them some bags and they'll try it out. Now,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't help all pains because some pains are the degree of dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
But you can start with it and then work your way back to normalcy.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Someone asked how long do the bags last?
The bags will last until they dry out. That's what my experience is because in my house we had bags for 4 years and eventually they'll dry out, which makes sense because if you have this feel or dysfunction in your body and you put up something that's really in a normal position up against it and they keep energy keep moving back and forth, eventually one of those systems is going to be used up. It's kind of like gasoline. When you put gasoline in your car tank, gas tank, and you drive your car, when you look in the tank, the gas is gone. Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because the gas goes through the system and then it's broken up into a gaseous state, then it's compressed, and then energy is released, and you can use it to turn mechanical things.
Yeah. So what else what is this? What else can you use the bag for? I guess
You
that's
can use the bag for pain, and you can use the bag to increase digestion. I used to put the bag on my daughter's when she was in the womb. I used to put it on the belly and pulse
mm-hmm.
the belly, the
Mm-hmm.
mother's belly,
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted her system of water that she's swimming in and the water that's in the body to be as normal as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
that way diseases or any malnutrition, any malfunction wouldn't be transferred.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, everything is energy. Don't think of it as solid, liquid, or gas. It's just energy. So if you think from that level, you can solve all problems. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to think and understand.
Mm-hmm. Right. Another question is, what's the approximate cost for the bags? I guess they're asking.
Oh, well, what I can do is I can make you whoever wants a bag and you can try it out and then come back and talk about it. And then from there, everybody else can have a bag.
Yeah. Okay. That was yeah. Another question is, will that be a PEMF, pulse electromagnetic field therapy device? I guess the bags therapy, is that pulse electromagnetic field therapy? Someone is
Well,
asking.
it's the magnetic field is just building up a field and then it's pulsing it. There's no particular frequency. The bag is static pretty much with a static field. So when you combine a varying field with a static field, cells tends to reverse the, in their life cycle because cells are born, they go through a life cycle and they die. Well, cancer cells do not die.
Hmm.
That's weird. They will keep living until the host dies. They don't go through the normal life cycle of a cell. And that was another fascinating thing I knew about. And I realized, okay, if they don't die, then I can force them to go back into normal state for them to die. That's where the tumors come in because what your body is doing is encasing whatever foreign matter, energy into that package, and then those cells are reprogrammed to continue to live and produce more of themselves
Right.
and use up all the energy around them. So cancers has a way of redirecting blood vessels.
Right.
I
Yes.
don't know if so
Yes, they do, because that's what happened. They take over the host, they will take over the circulatory system of that host. They will send out different arms and legs and just engulf other organs and choke out
yeah,
the
because
life
those
cycle.
cells,
Yes.
what is happening is anytime they encounter a normal cell, they will send information over to the nucleus, which is the RNA, DNA, and they'll change that information. It's like a computer program code. They'll upload that code to the next cell, and that cell would just start living. It would never die. It just keep hoarding energy,
Yeah.
which you call nutrition, but it's just energy.
And
And so eventually the system that it's in, the lungs, the brain, the whatever organ will eventually collapse.
mhm.
Thank you
Okay.
for that answer. What I was trying to ask about the PMF machine, is that the same machine that you were talking about as the magnetic pulsar?
Yeah, the pulsar it just generates a magnetic field, a varying one.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Hmm.
First of all, thank you, Brother Deon, for such an amazing program. Um, by the way, it was Moses who the Lord said, "I'll
Yes.
turn my back to
It
you.
just
You don't
it
see
did
my
come
back."
right. Yes.
And as we all know, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And my first question is, thinking about how we are at least 80% water, do you agree with the theory that we should drink 8 glasses of water a day, drink by body weight, or what do you say about that?
Well, I only can speak from my experience. I I was experiencing some tingling in my recently, about several months ago, in my fingers, well, two of my fingers. And I knew that's related to some type of diabetes somewhere. And so I was like, okay, what's going on? And then what I realized was I started checking and verifying what I'm doing, what I'm eating, how much I'm eating, and I realized I wasn't drinking enough water. So that was the first thing I did. I got a bottle, a glass bottle, not a plastic bottle. That's a whole nother subject. But I got a glass bottle, and then I distill all of my water that I drink in my house. I don't buy water. I can give you a whole lecture on that, how bad that is. Anyway, so I put the distilled water in the glass bottle. And then what I do is I add some mineral salt. They call it Himalayan salt or whatever, the colored salt. It has minerals in it. And then I add some baking soda and I mix that in the water, just a pinch of each, and I drink that throughout the day. And I've noticed that the tingling started to go away. So to answer your question, yeah, you have to evaluate what you're doing. And most of us as we get older, I'm 62. So I want to be 160, 170. That's my goal. I might not live, but hey. So I noticed I was drinking less and less water. So I increased that water. Everybody is different. You're gonna drink pretty much between, 3 to 6 ounces a day, depending on how much fruits you eat, because that has water in it. If I drink water, a glass of water, as soon as I get up, that's what I drink, and I bubble it in ozone. I have reasons for that. And then I drink the water in the bottle. So it varies per person.
As
Okay.
you said about, yeah, okay, go ahead, Stan.
And my other question was, you were talking a little bit earlier about Albert Einstein and the theory of relativity. Have you ever, I used to read a lot about Albert Einstein a long time ago. Have you ever read about how he created the theory of relativity?
Well, yeah, my background is physics. I have an undergrad in physics, applied physics, and graduate level physics. Um, he, yes, I did, but there are other scientists that most of us of the science world don't talk about that kind of steered Einstein to that E equal mc squared. That's not new. We said, oh, Einstein discovered. No, he didn't. But, that's up for debate. But he was influenced by Maxwell and these other guys. And from that, he was able to conclude that energy is equal to a volume of mass combined with light speed.
Well, I'll tell you what I read years ago when I used to read a lot about Einstein. He said he imagined himself riding on a beam of light. A beam of light travels at 186,000 miles per second through the universe. And as he rode on this beam of light, he looked back and he imagined what he saw, and that gave him the theory of relativity. That's what I read years ago. And what I got from that was Albert Einstein was just a man, just like we are. If he can imagine and do such a thing, then so can we.
Yeah. Yeah, he was more visual. So, but before that, that was already discovered. It just hadn't been published.
Mhm.
So he published it first. So
Yeah. So you talk about ozone. So you think that it's okay for us to drink water added with food grade H2O2, hydrogen peroxide?
yeah, the if you notice, most of our food has been uh drained of nutrition. The first thing they try to pull out is the oxygen.
Mm,
And
mm,
so you look at junk food, it has almost no oxygen in there. So what I've done was I use not the hydrogen peroxide from the pharmacy. I use food grade
okay.
type
Mhm.
hydrogen peroxide, which is high concentration. It's 35% food grade hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah, it's
And
hard to
that can
find
be
it
used
now.
for different things.
Mhm. It's hard to find it now. I used to find it in the health food store. I don't think they're selling
Well,
it.
I go to health this I have to give you, but I'm trying to remember purehealthdiscounts.com.
Oh,
Purehealthdiscounts.com. They sell it in liters, gallons. I usually buy it in
oh,
5 gallons.
oh,
Yeah,
Pure Health. Okay,
discount.com.
purehealthdiscount.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I think the FDA kind of started banning grocery stores, these health food stores from selling it because of the effect it has on our health. I tell you, yeah, anything that helps us, they try to take it away from us.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yes. So another question. Oh, can we get the bag in the Caribbean? How can we in the Caribbean get the bags? That was a question.
What was the question?
Somebody in the Caribbean, I think she's in Tobago. She wants to know if she can obtain these bags from you. Yeah,
Yeah, I can.
yeah.
I can make
Okay.
them. We'll just have to get my contact and I need to talk to the person
Right,
and
right.
ask some more questions before.
Okay, okay.
You're not from the Food and Drug Administration, are you? Just
Yeah,
kidding, just kidding.
okay. I'm just gonna take one more question here. Is the plasma water you were speaking of the same as structured water, H3O2?
Okay, when you talk of plasma water, it's taking the water in a different state. What I'm talking about is structure in the water. I'm not really taking it to a higher state. I'm just organizing the atoms that makes up the molecules in a specific way, in a crystalline way.
Mm,
See, when water comes through our system, this is another point I've learned. When water comes to a house, it hits 90-degree angles. That will destroy the structure of water in a heartbeat. Meaning, when you drink that water, it's almost no good. You're not hydrating your cells, you're irrigating your cells. Let me put it that way. Okay? So when water moves in nature, you never see it moves at a 90-degree angle. It always twirls and spin.
mhm. Yeah.
So if you get your water to twirl and spin, I'm sure you all had grandmothers and you were mixing lemonade and she'll pour the sugar in and say, keep stirring, keep stirring. Well, stirred, not shaken, has a big effect on your health.
Mhm. Okay. Well, that's for another topic. I know, Dion. Yes, we
Yes.
have talked about that already. That's a whole different topic. We would love to have you back, Dion, where you can share those ideas about how we should drink water, not just from a bottle, but have it, in a system which is constantly spinning so that we can have
Yes.
better hydration. Yeah. Is this gonna be our last question? Betty, you had a question? I see like your
Uh,
mic is on.
I say, please bring him back. How
Oh,
do we
okay.
get
Oh,
how do we get his information through you?
Yeah, you can talk to me.
Okay. All
Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah, yes. So, Dion, thanks again. This was a long, long-waited presentation, and I know you're a wealth of knowledge. You have so much information that you can share with our audience. So I'm glad that you're willing to come back, and I'm going to reach out to you again to bring you
okay.
back so that we can talk some more. And, just water alone is so vast, so much information that we need to understand about water, the, the substance of life. Thanks again. So,
Emily, let me ask you a question.
yeah.
When you buy the water at the 5 gallon bottle of water, not from the truck, but you go to the health food store like Living Well, they sell the water by the gallon. Is that water good or is that bad water as well?
Well, all water is good. Don't ever think it's bad or good. It's how it's programmed. Now, when you buy water from them, I don't know exactly what they did to their water, so I really
Okay.
can't tell you. But what I can say is this: if they sell it to you in a plastic container, or if it's stored in a plastic container under any type of fluorescent light
Mm-hmm.
or sunlight with high
Mm-hmm.
UV, you have a problem.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also if it's in an environment where I should say a negative environment, the experiments have been done to show this, that if you curse around water, I'm literally curse and steal and do all kind of wicked stuff, the water absorb that type of energy.
Wow.
That energy pattern is stored in the water
Mm.
and it will affect you if you drink it.
Wow.
Hmm. Wow.
Take
That's
that
why
in
you
Wow.
there.
should bless
That's
your
deep.
water.
That's deep. That's deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
No,
whole
That's
it's
nother
deep.
story right
that's a
there.
whole other story. Okay. Well, thank you.
um,
Thank you again. Yeah.
and what kind of water you said you drink?
My water, I use
Mm-hmm.
distilled water. I have a
Right.
tabletop
How do
distiller.
all right, if you don't have or you can't afford the distiller, is there a local way that you can distill your water?
No, it's cheaper to buy a distiller on Amazon. Now I can
Mm-hmm.
build a system that does it, but it costs you way more to buy the parts, put it together, build it, all that stuff. It's easier to just purchase a tabletop distiller and distill
Mm-hmm.
it. And trust me, after about 4 distill, and you look at the bottom, you're going to be shocked. And
Mm.
Wow.
but once you're done distilling it, if you don't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and stuff every day, you can add the mineral salt and baking soda to it
Yeah.
Oh,
because it
okay.
needs electrolytes.
Yeah. You have to
Mm.
be very careful with distilled water because you need, as Dion was saying, you need your electrolytes in it. If
Yeah, because I know somebody we were doing a program one day at church and they said distilled water is not good because I used to distill water. And they say it's not good. So since then, I kind of ease off of it.
Well, the reason they're saying that is because distilled water tends to want to pull minerals into it because of its electro affinity. And so that's why I add the salt and the baking soda. So then it's giving your body minerals and
Oh,
electrolytes instead
oh,
of trying to absorb
what you have.
those, yeah, what you have.
Okay.
So
okay.
you want an overabundance of electrons in your body. You don't want minimal availability of electrons where it start stealing electrons from your cell, and now you have a problem. So
Okay.
yeah.
So we're going to
All
bring back
right.
Deon so you can teach us how to do that. Thank you
Mm.
everyone for participating. So we're going to stop recording.